Hi, everyone.
Hi,
I'm
Julia.
So it is 11, and we are live on YouTube now, and we do have just enough for quorum. So if we want, we can either wait a few minutes, wait for everyone else, or I can start with the election of officers. It's up to you guys. Well, if we want to go ahead then, I'll go ahead with the first item, which is election of officers. So I'll do the nominations for chair, and then we'll do the vice chair. So do we have a mover for nominee for chair? Yeah, Liz?
Yep. I nominate Nadine Baker for chair.
Perfect. Nadine, do you accept the nomination?
I do accept. Thank you so much. Thanks, Liz.
Perfect. Is there a seconder for Ms. Baker? Perfect. Ms. Clifford. Are there any other nominations for chair? No? Seeing none? Okay. So I'll close the nominations for chair and call the vote. So all in favor for Nadine Baker for chair? See Ron's hand. Perfect. Any opposed? Perfect. Okay. So now I'll do the nominations for vice chair. So is there a mover for the nominee for vice chair? Nadine, yep.
I will nominate Liz Shell.
Perfect. Liz, do you accept?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Is there a seconder for Michelle? Yeah, perfect. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? No, seeing none. Okay, so I'll close the nominations for vice chair and call the vote. So all those in favor of Liz for vice chair? Any opposed? No, perfect. Perfect. Okay, so I'll now turn the meeting over to Ms. Baker for the rest of the meeting.
Great. Thank you, Julia. Welcome, and I will call the meeting to order now. It's just 4 minutes after 11 here. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Everyone was sent that agenda. Councillor Neal, a first and a second. Right, thanks, Liz. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as well? Anyone move to? Great, thanks, Mark. And a seconder, Alicia, did I see your hand? That's wonderful, thank you so much. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Anyone? No? Okay, we can move ahead to delegations. And Felix Lee is on. Yes, they are. They're here to present something on behalf of the Kingston Arts Council. Welcome, Felix.
Hello, thanks, Nadine. I am here to talk today about the 2021 CCAF program because it's going to look markedly different this year from previous years. We are announcing 2 new funding streams in addition to operating and project grants that are going to address new community needs created by the COVID-19 pandemic. So in 2020, the KAC recognized the impact of COVID-19, and as this committee knows, we implemented an expanded consultation process, engaging organizations, collectives, and artists to understand needs, opportunities, and challenges that they would face in 2021. And in the fall of last year, we hosted roundtables, we released a survey, and we consulted with jurors, other granting agencies, city staff, our board of directors, and also this committee. Throughout that process, participants identified consistent opportunities and challenges. The major issues that they reported to us were decreased revenue, increased costs, the uncertainty around the pandemic and the inability to make long-term plans, a lack of capacity, and a sense of loss of collaboration and community. However, they also identified some opportunities, including an increased accessibility through shifting towards digital programming, a growth in new audiences, Oh, I'm frozen. No, I'm unfrozen. And a renewed focus on local audiences as well. The KAC, in response to this consultation process, focused on revising the program objectives and the application and adjudication process for operating and project streams in 2021. And those changes were presented to this committee through the annual review process in the plan for admin for the 2021 program in the winter of last year in November. And as described in the plan, the operating and project streams launched in February with a total available amount of $583,052 in funds. Approximately 70% of those funds will go to operating, approximately 30% will go to project, and the deadline will be in April of this year, with the funds released in July on the same schedule that it has been for many years. In addition to this, on January 28th, Kingston City Council passed a motion allocating an additional $200,000 in one-time funding for individual artists and arts nonprofit organizations in recognition of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. The KAC and Cultural Services have developed a framework to administer this funding, which was reviewed by City Council on March 2nd. This one-time additional funding is separate from the $583,052 available in operating project streams. So it's an additional $200,000 separate amount, and it will be distributed through two new funding streams that are described in this approved framework. They are called Resiliency and Adapt. These streams will support individual artists, collectives, ad hoc groups, nonprofit arts organizations whose work has been impacted by the pandemic. The grants themselves, the eligibility criteria, and the evaluation process have been developed collaboratively by city staff, specifically Cultural Services, and KAC staff to address challenges raised by the community through our discussions, and specifically the 2020 consultation that I've just highlighted. So the two streams, Resiliency, the first stream, will support individual professional artists to continue to work and to work safely in their artistic practice. The total funding available will be $100,000, and there will be 3 intake periods within 2021, with the first call for applications in April. Grants will be a maximum of $2,000. Individual artists in any discipline will be eligible to apply. Applications will be reviewed by KAC staff against an eligibility checklist, and eligible applicants will be approved for funding on a first-come, first-served basis in each intake period. More information about the application process, the eligibility, eligible costs will be available through our website later this month. The second stream, Adapt, will support projects that address pandemic-related challenges through new ways of working. These projects could include creating, presenting, or adapting an artistic work, building a new partnership, or creating an innovative solution to a community need that has arisen as a result of the pandemic. The total available fund in this program will also be $100,000. The minimum grant will be $4,000, the maximum will be $10,000. And this program, individuals, collectives, ad hoc groups, and nonprofit arts organizations are eligible to apply, including those that are receiving funding from operating and project grants, as long as they are applying for a separate activity to adapt. There will be 1 intake period with a call for applications in June 2021. Applications will be evaluated and grants will be awarded by a jury of artists and arts professionals. More information about that program will be available in June. That, in summation, is what I have to share for you today. Thank you for allowing me to talk about this exciting development. The KAC is very happy to be able to offer this level of support. We're very grateful to the city for allocating this additional funding to help artists and nonprofits during this difficult period while we're all trying to recover together. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Felix. Sounds like a lot of work was done with that. I just have a quick question. You said it will be available, information will be available on the Kingston Arts Council's website. When will that be? In a couple of weeks?
So for the first program, Resiliency, it will be later this month. So end of March, early April, because the call for applications, the first intake period will launch early in April. So quite soon. And then for ADAPT, it will be later in the year, it will be in June, because the call for applications won't open until June.
Okay, great. I invite any other questions. Councillor Neal?
Yes, sounds like a great program, and we're bucking the trend where a lot of municipalities seem to be cutting back on these kinds of projects. So I really, really appreciate this. This may be a question for either Danica or Colin. Will the city also, through our social media, make this information available? I would presume so.
Yeah, I can answer that, Councillor Neal. Yes, we will. We're working very closely with the Arts Council on the communications strategy for the rollout of these two new programs. So typically the Arts Council obviously takes lead on the communications, but we will work with them to share that information through our channels and our website as well.
Great. Thank you very much. And I'm going to quickly let my dog out.
Great. We have time for any other questions for Felix? Anyone have any questions? No. Okay. So then I guess we will move on to Danica, who has a briefing for the committee here. Thank you, Danica.
Thank you, Nadine. And Julia, if you can just pop my presentation up, that would be great. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's really, really good to see you all. It's been a little while, and it's great to be reconnected with the committee here this morning. I've created a little presentation that just gives additional high-level information on the information that was included in the report as part of today's meeting on priority setting for 2021. We have a couple new members. Hi, Jillian. It's great to have you as part of this group. There will be some familiar pieces to this presentation for the existing members, but I just wanted to take you through a bit of a review of where things are at and what the priority projects are moving forward. Next slide, please. So the role and mandate of the Arts Advisory Committee is to serve as an avenue of communication and consultation between the arts community and the municipal government. It is in place to ensure that City of Kingston arts policies and strategies serve the needs of the arts community and in turn the residents of Kingston. This is even more important, we very much feel, in this moment of COVID-19, and ensuring that there is constant communication between the city and the arts sector and the arts community in this moment as we move through the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic. So through regular communication with staff and council, the Arts Advisory Committee fosters awareness of the City of Kingston's corporate goals pertaining to the arts community, and its mandate includes reporting to the Arts, Recreation and Community Policies Committee. Next slide, please. The purpose of the Arts Advisory Committee is broken out here. And so a few of these high-level priorities are to ensure the continued implementation of the recommendations contained in the Kingston Culture Plan. We'll talk about this again when we get to priorities for 2021, as the Kingston Culture Plan that was approved in 2010 has come to an end. It's a 10-year culture plan. So we'll be talking with the committee about that work going forward. Providing input into the development of arts policies and strategies offered by effectiveness and best practices. Make staff and council aware of changing conditions and opportunities within the arts. Advise staff and council as to the impact, actual and potential of broader policies, programs, and regulations on the Kingston arts sector. And maintain linkages with Heritage Kingston and its working group to ensure coordination of activities related to the implementation of the Kingston Culture Plan. Next slide, please. The work of this committee is largely informed by the following city plans, strategies, policies, and programs. And within the committee report that was submitted, we did include links to those. So I encourage you to take time over a period of time to review these plans and policies to understand the sort of the context for some of the priority projects we'll be talking about. So as mentioned, the Kingston Culture Plan is the main guiding document. The Public Art Master Plan approved by Council in 2014, as well as the Public Art Policy subsequently approved in 2015. The Kingston Commemoration Strategy approved in 2015. And these two additional plans and strategies are new. The creative industry strategy is coming. It will be shared with Council in April of this year. This committee received a presentation from Laura O'Blennis from Stiletto Consulting, who was responsible for the creation of this creative industry strategy. And so this will be a major piece of work for our department moving forward, but the creative industry strategy has recommendations in relation to how we can support creative industries and enhance economic opportunities. And those recommendations are also embedded within the integrated economic development strategy that I've listed here, which was approved by Council in December of 2020. Additionally, Council may authorize the creation of working groups from time to time that are tasked with dealing with specific topics or working on projects relevant to a committee's mandate. Next slide, please. So I've put together the priority projects for 2021 and started to flesh out some action items that can be discussed as this committee moves towards the development of a work plan for 2021. So I'll just go through them line by line. The first one is supporting the development of a renewed multi-year culture plan for Kingston. And so I referenced that our current culture plan is a 10-year plan. It's come to an end in 2020, and we will be moving forward with a renewal of this plan for Kingston. And so the engagement of this committee is to review and endorse the scope of work in the creation of this new culture plan. The second priority project is about providing objective advice to help the City of Kingston determine how best to support the arts and cultural sectors impacted by the COVID-19. Again, a very important time to keep these lines of communication open. And so one of the action items that I've put in here is around the opportunity to invite members of the community to provide delegations to this committee, similar to what we saw today from Felix from the Arts Council, to help generate a deepened and shared understanding of the status of the local arts sector in response to the pandemic. The third priority project is support for the ongoing implementation of the Public Art Master Plan and Public Art Policy. This includes participation in the Art in Public Places Working Group. We recently went to, just on Tuesday, went to the Arts, Recreation and Community Policies Committee to seek approval on expanded and updated terms of reference for this working group. That does include more detail in terms of the membership and additional context for the mandate of this working group. So we will be coming back to this committee with those terms of reference to seek participation in this working group, likely at our next Arts Advisory Committee meeting. Additionally, a major priority is, again, supporting the annual review and endorsement of the City of Kingston Arts Fund Plan for Admin. This committee has completed this work last year in 2020, in I think October 2020, approving the Plan for Administration for 2021 that Felix was speaking about. And so again, this year in October 2021, this committee will be reviewing the Plan for Administration for 2022. And then associated with the CCAF program, the committee will be looking to participate in a review of this program as part of a larger review of the city's funding programs related to arts, heritage, and culture. So this is something that we will be initiating to assess the CCAF program and the heritage program to develop, to get an understanding obviously the impact it's had and where it might need to go and change in the future to continue to reflect the needs of the community and serve the community. And so the committee will be needing to participate in a fund review working group that can be established and provide input on direction and changes to the City of Kingston Arts Fund. Next slide, please. Additional priority projects, I think I've mentioned this, but is around the supporting the implementation of the creative industry strategy in alignment with the new integrated economic development strategy approved by Council in 2020. So this will include reviewing and providing feedback on the final creative industry strategy, providing input on all of the creative industry's recommendations. And there is a specific recommendation that this committee will be engaged on, which is in relation to supporting music, which has been identified as a key subsector for growth. And one of those action items will be the development of a music city strategy for Kingston. Additionally, supporting the development of an arts walk is a major project for us this year that leverages existing public art installations along Kingston's waterfront as anchors. I should say that the arts walk and the creative industries piece are both council strategic priorities. And so the work of this committee will be to engage on the plans and sharing information with staff on other public art spaces and or arts events to be featured as part of the arts walk and possible programmatic elements. We are moving forward with the arts walk in a bit of a phased approach. And so this summer we will be launching sort of phase 1 of the arts walk, which will really act as the foundation for the arts walk to grow as it's sort of boundless in what it can become, an arts walk, but we'll be beginning this summer aligning with the city program Love Kingston Marketplace to launch an arts walk that leverages public art in and around the downtown core. Again, this will be iterative. There will be additional programmatic elements and aspects of the arts walk that will be developed over the next few years. These last 2 priority projects this committee is aware of as they are annual programs, but the first is supporting the annual YGK music program. So this did start as a pilot project, but has now been approved as an annual music program that features playlists, that has 2 playlists featuring local musicians that will be on the City of Kingston website, the City of Kingston call waiting system, and on Visit Kingston's website, as well as in other city properties. And so the action for this committee will be to participate in a 2021 local music working group to select musicians for the playlist, and that is on the agenda for today. And then finally, supporting the annual Mayor's Arts Awards program, which again, this committee has continued to support over the last 4 years now. But in the spring, we'll be coming back to this committee to seek members for participation in the 2021 nominations working group who are responsible for selecting the recipients. Next slide, please. So next steps, based on the priority projects that have been outlined here for 2021, in consultation with staff, the Arts Advisory Committee will confirm their work plan for the year. In accordance with the committee bylaw, all advisory committees, including this committee, will be required to submit an annual report to council on or before May 31st of each year that highlights the work that has been completed over the course of the year. And I just wanted to include in this presentation as a reminder that the Arts Advisory Committee will need to submit an annual report by May 31st of this year, reporting on the work completed in 2021. So that's it for the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions from this committee.
Thank you so much, Danica. It's lovely to look forward to some exciting things and better times. Anyone have any questions for Danica? Liz?
Thank you. That was exhausting to hear. So I can't imagine what you're looking forward to this year, except that it's incredibly exciting. And I know, the organization I'm with, we can feel it, that it's going to start opening up, and we're starting to get ready. So it's a much better position to be in. I'm really keen to hear about the, it's a huge list. The culture plan in itself, just getting that all organized will be huge. I guess it's partly, do you feel well staffed and that you're going to be all capable of this, and how can this committee help as much as possible?
Thanks, Liz. I'm glad Colin's on this call too. But yes, it is a really, it is a big year for the Cultural Services Department. There is a lot on the go, but this work plan that's been presented to this committee has taken into consideration the staff that is needed in order to deliver on these projects. And so I think, in terms of the engagement of the Arts Advisory Committee, is again in those action items that help us move along the various priority projects for the department this year to ensure that we have the input from the community factored in throughout the various stages of all of these very significant projects.
And a little follow-up to do with the Arts Walk, because that is incredibly exciting, seeing as how Lake Ontario Park is going to look so different this summer. But I realized you were saying it was basically going to deal, if it's a waterfront Arts Walk and the downtown, you're sort of thinking Breakwater Park to the downtown, or is that the venue you're thinking about so far?
So the council strategic priority identified the sort of space between Lake Ontario Park and Douglas Fleur Park. So it's really in and around the waterfront, but it's in and around the downtown core. We have public art projects that will be in place this year and as part of the Hub project at Princess and Division Street. We will also have the Victoria Park public art project installed this spring. So we are going to look at the sort of the downtown core waterfront from Lake Ontario Park to Douglas Fleur Park into the downtown and then up into Williamsville to include the Victoria Park public art project as a first pass.
I see. Thanks.
Great. Hi, Colin, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks, Nadine. I also wanted to just provide a little contextual information about the renewal of the culture plan, because as Liz has rightly said, that's a significant piece of work. As Danica referenced, the original culture plan approved by council in 2010 was a 10-year plan. So technically it was meant to be wrapping up in 2020. And certainly our plan was to be more actively reporting out to council and the community about the work that had been completed over that initial 10-year period. Obviously, plans did not go as one would have wanted in 2020, and we've had to shift our focus. But I've also been asked, or our department's been asked, to postpone the renewal of the culture plan, I believe, until 2022 or 3. I should have
really?
confirmed
Okay.
that. Yeah, but the thing that I wanted to mainly highlight is that a master planning document like that is incredibly important as a framework to guide the work of the department. So, there are still elements of it that we are continuing to pursue, particularly around public art project, and also increasingly trying to look at programming outside of the downtown core as some of the final pieces from that plan. But there's obviously other initiatives that have emerged in the meantime that are very much shaping the work of our department. So as Danica has highlighted, the creative industries piece, which is now a council strategic priority, is anticipated to be a significant piece of work. And we have been long overdue to do this review of the City of Kingston Arts Fund and the City of Kingston Heritage Fund. Silver lining maybe that we can now do that review in the context of COVID-19 so that it can be looking at a recovery strategy as well as a longer term sustainability plan. And of course, not specifically related to this committee, but a large piece of work that we're doing within cultural services around reconciliation, Engage for Change, and also the Your Stories, Our Histories project, which is moving towards more inclusive storytelling around local history. And we've been able to launch the Market Wing cultural space recently, which is meant to be a physical manifestation of not only telling more inclusive stories, but also creating stronger ties between arts and heritage in a much more intentional way. So in the absence of a updated Kingston Culture Plan, there's a number of significant pieces that we're working on strategically. So, to just, build on what Danica's already shared, I think for this committee this year, there's certainly the recurring support that we need related to the Mayor's Arts Awards and YGK Music, but in particular, the fund review and the creative industries piece in 2021. And I think we'll have an opportunity as we start to find our feet around that work to have some conversation as the year progresses towards what does that next iteration of the culture plan look like.
That's great. Great, Colin. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any other questions for Danica or Colin? Councillor Neil?
Thanks a lot. I'm also on KFLNA Public Health, which has been very busy in the last year and a bit. And I'm just curious. I know Theatre Kingston. I know that Tourism Kingston, the other TK, and the city have worked really, really closely with Kieran Moore, and we're blessed to be one of the few communities that still remains in the green. I'm just curious. I would love to be able to go to the Domino Theatre or the Grand Theatre in the coming year, and I'm wondering if we've had an opportunity to consult with public health about the possibility of having, say, Domino Theatre opening with 20% or 30% capacity and social distancing. Have we had that conversation to date?
Yes, Danica? Danica has a response, I think.
Thanks, Nadine, and thanks, Councillor Neil, for that question. I see Liz has her hand up to talk about Domino, but the Grand Theatre in this moment, the Baby Grand, is open for limited audience performances. And so we are continuing to work in consultation with the public health guidelines to allow for that kind of experience to slowly reemerge. And we'll be continuing to track against that. But at this point, we only have plans to have the Baby Grand open at this moment. And Colin has his hand up too, but Liz can maybe speak about Domino.
Liz?
I will say we have created a season to start in September with the idea that if we can't start in September, it'll be October. You know, we're going to be flexible, but through what we're hearing, and we have so many volunteers in so many sections of the city, chances are good we're going to be able to start reopening this fall. And I'm not sure what kind of restrictions there will be, but it's starting to look really exciting. But we're going to take it a step at a time. And we've discussed trying to be open at 20% or 30%, which we probably could afford to do, except you need a massive number of volunteers. And if you have to have incredibly strict safety protocols, we just can't see our way to do that. But I think we're seeing, you know, we're getting excited to see the end of this.
Seeing the light. That's great. Thanks. Yes. Thanks, Liz. Colin, did you have anything to add then?
Yeah, thank you, Nadine. And I'll add as well, building on what Danica has said, that, you know, obviously the situation has been very dynamic. In late 2020, we were able to reopen Baby Grand Theatre to audiences of between 18 to 24. We had some uptake for that. The focus is really on trying to leverage that facility for community access. And so, you know, the current situation under the green provincial framework is that Baby Grand is available for community rentals at reduced fees that council has approved, largely to make sure that that space is available to community groups who want to access it. And, you know, we've had some different variety of approaches because it's not necessarily just been for public presentations. It's also been used for new work creation and rehearsal. So that is certainly viable. And we've obviously been continuing to deliver a virtual version of Grand on Stage so that our patrons and supportive audiences can continue to have experiences linked to the kind of programming we would normally do. And then we will be introducing some other initiatives in the coming months that help us leverage the Grand Theatre while it's closed for use by the community. But I will highlight, especially for you, Councillor Neil, that our budget for 2021 as approved was built on the assumption that the Grand Theatre would not be opening this year, except to the degree which I've outlined. And we are under the direction that should circumstances allow, in relation to public health and changing guidelines, that we would have to come back to council with a budget revision for review and approval. And as Liz has pointed out, the overhead cost of operating that space is significant and is really built on being able to have sizable audiences to make it financially viable. And so that's the challenge that we've been facing over these months with constant discussion, negotiation with facility renters, our own programming, and trying to figure out if and when we can come back. But we were directed that we could not open for public audience performances with the 50-person limit because it's just not financially feasible. So our hope is that we may see different circumstances in September, and at that point we could revisit the budget and the operational model. But fingers crossed, at least by January 2022, that we would be back to some form of open and functioning.
Thanks a lot, everybody. I'm only one voice and one vote, but I would love to support a transfer from working reserve to, if the Grand could be open, if indeed we are in better COVID condition come early fall or mid fall. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Great. Any other questions or comments on that subject before we move on to our next agenda item? Anyone? Okay, we got an information only report. So I guess the next step is the YGK Music Working Group. Is that something, Danica, that you are bringing to the table? Okay.
Thanks, Nadine. So included the updated terms of reference for the YGK Music program. And just briefly, I'll read a little bit from this and in relation to the local music working group, which we're here to appoint members of the Arts Advisory to and discuss potential community member appointments. So in brief, YGK Music, as I've mentioned, is an annual program designed to promote local music and musicians through curated playlists to be made available online on the City of Kingston website and Visit Kingston website, through the city's collating system, and through various city-owned properties. This program, again, not to go a little bit back into its history, but came from a motion from Councillor Neal to see and ask the city to better promote local musicians. It's now become an annual program. We currently have a call to the local community out there. We have received over 100 submissions to date, and the call has a couple more weeks yet for people to submit. So there's a lot of really great interest. The local music working group is comprised of 5 to 7 members with a range of expertise and perspectives relevant to the local music scene, including musicians, presenters, and broadcasters, as well as people who play supporting roles related to the local music scene through production and promotion. The members of the local music working group are nominated by the Arts Advisory and appointed by council. The group is chaired by a committee of the Arts Advisory and will include at least 3 members of this committee, one of whom is a member of council, and may also include appointees who are not members of the Arts Advisory Committee. So for the purpose of today's meeting, we are looking for members from this committee who might be interested in being a part of this working group, who align with the terms of reference. We have also reached out to some community members and have confirmed some interest that I can share with this committee for discussion. And if there's anyone else that this committee would like to put forward for consideration, we can have that conversation. So maybe what I'll do before we jump into the Arts Advisory is I'll just share with the group the community members who have expressed interest. Tricia Knowles is a community member, a cultural producer, founder of the Calliope Collective, and has supported various music festivals over the years through publicity and promotion. Aaron Holmberg is the technical director for the Isabel Bader Center. He has also been involved in the past with the Tragically Hip's Bathhouse. Chris Morris is the festival coordinator for Homegrown Music Festival, a celebration of live and local music here in Kingston. And Lynn Carlotto, who is the general manager of the Leon Center, has also expressed interest in being a part of this working group this year. So those are the 4 names that we've collected from the community for discussion within this committee. And then again, looking for individuals from this committee to put their names forward to participate in the program this year. I should also mention, and I have spoken to a couple of the members who are aligned in support and work in music for consideration of this committee, but the time commitment of this working group, there is a lot of pre-listening, and Dean was on the local music working group last year and can attest to that. And again, we have 100 submissions, so there's a lot of pre-listening, but I've heard wonderful things from the past members, and that it's really a great education in terms of, you know, the makeup of the local music sector. And Annie was on the working group too. So there's a lot of work that's going to have to be done then in terms of pre-listening, which is really going to take place towards the end of April. And then we'll come together online for a meeting that'll be sort of a couple hours in length to basically review and assess the top ranked submissions for consideration. And so we'll provide the working group with all of the materials, the ranking score sheet, and then we'll come together for a brief meeting to decide, to make that difficult decision on who to feature. So just a little bit of information on that time commitment.
It's really wonderful. I will support it a lot. It was very fun listening to all the material, and it's amazing the stuff that's here. So yeah, it's great.
So Danica, how were the community members then chosen? It sounds like you have some great interest there from those 4 people. So does that mean that the working group is established first? Is it like the Mayor's Arts Awards, and then there's reach out?
We can do it that way, but we also, because we've gotten interest, we can bring all the names forward together. So if this committee wants to support those community member nominations, we can. And then if the Arts Advisory Committee members who would like to participate want to put their names forward, we can. They can all be approved as part of one process in this moment. So
okay, I see Colin's hand there.
Sorry, just a technical question, maybe to Danica to help update too, that there seems to be, if in the last time we talked about it, Danica, much more interest in the Kingston Sounds playlist than the music on hold, and perhaps some perceived reluctance on the part of musicians to have their music on the call waiting system. And so I just wanted to mention that as you said, there's still a couple of weeks for people to make submissions. And so if people have connections out into the community to help support getting more people aware of the initiative, and also would flag that when we reported back on the inaugural YGK music program, one of the interesting facts that came out is, as limited as the exposure might seem through the call waiting system, we did have statistics from our communications and customer experience department that said, upwards of 150,000 residents were exposed to the music through that mechanism, and that probably not a good thing that the average wait time was about 30 seconds, which obviously something the city would be trying to reduce wait times as much as possible, but it's not that there isn't opportunity for people to familiarize themselves with the music through that mechanism. So Danica, I don't know if there's anything to add, just to sort of make sure that both playlists are equally successful in the submission process.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. That's great. And I did check back, and we've got some additional submissions to the music on hold, but there is a big difference. There's only about 12 for music on hold. Our target is 10, featuring 10 musicians. But just to add to Colin's comments there, one of the new things we're doing as we move forward, this also impacts the music on hold playlist, is that we are going to be mastering the playlist this year as one distinct playlist. And this came up through the local music working group discussions last year about, improving sound quality, creating a bit of a cohesive playlist. And one of the things we've talked about with our customer experience colleagues for the music on hold system is actually having that playlist specifically we want to make sure that those who are listening to the Music on Hold playlist understand what they're listening to and who they're listening to. And so what we're going to be doing is sort of editing the playlist to have little interjections where we say that you're listening to the YGP Music playlist. This is the musician and artist you're listening to. Thank you for holding, that kind of thing.
Great, that's
There'll
great.
be some additional promotion through that specific playlist. The tracks for both and the information about the artist will all live on the city's website for more information. I think that's another piece, is that we will be actively promoting the musicians who are featured on both playlists. So it will get a lot of attention, a lot of support and promotion. But to Colin's point, if there's some promotion that can be done in support of these playlists from now until the deadline, that would be much appreciated.
Okay, great. Councillor Neal? Oh, I saw Mark too. Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Neal and Mark.
Oh. Okay, I didn't want to jump in ahead of anybody else, but just curious, have we approached Tourism Kingston? I'm sure Megan would be happy to play that at our tourism center as well. And it would be especially good if you had that little interjections happening to identify who the artists are.
So Tourism Kingston is a partner in this program, Councillor Neal, and so they will be promoting the playlist. It's a great point that we can, we should work with them to find new opportunities to feature the playlist in various programs, events, and spaces that they could help with. We will reach out to them at the next stage and see how they can share the playlist and to sort of help with larger reach.
That's great. Thank you.
Great. Mark, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just another idea I had was, and maybe this is already in the plan somewhere, but what about playing it out at the hockey rinks? I'm part of a beer league hockey team, and often I feel like, not to take away from K-Rock or whatever they normally play, but what about asking them to play it out there? And then I've also seen in the past, it's really eye-catching, sometimes the round kind of poles they have that's probably supporting the second level of the Invista Center or whatever its structural purpose is, I'm not sure. But sometimes they'll have some art sort of wrapped around there. And I know there might be a bit of a cost associated with that. But if that was a place of interest to actually play that music, you could then maybe speak about the project a little bit, little small displays kind of wrapped around those large sort of support structures that they have in there, just to give some context to what people are listening in. I know when I go out there, people are just standing around kind of looking for things to do. They're on their phones. So I think it might reach a different part of Kingston that might not normally be subjected to some of the marketing of local musicians, which tends to be downtown a little bit more maybe. And just secondly as well, I'm just wondering if there would be a place for there to be like a donation button or something like that, whether that would live on the City of Kingston's website, but maybe all the artists that are chosen, there would be the option for people in the community to donate, and maybe it would all be equally split at the end of the year among the artists that were chosen. I just know like Wendy had great success at the Screening Room doing a donation campaign there. The film festival this year, we had a lot of people donating on top of their tickets. So people might be looking for a place to put their donations towards the music sector and not sure where to do it. So that was just something I thought of as well. If there was somebody might cough up a good amount, just one or two people. So and then just real quickly, if there was little banner ads or anything like that as well that you could give to the film festival or just different arts organizations that have newsletters, just raising awareness about it as well. Like we would definitely be happy to include it in our communications. So if in developing the marketing for this, if it would be TK or whoever, if they could put together some little newsletter banner ads, that'd be a good way to sort of get the information around with different arts groups, just making it really easy for people to help promote it. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Right. Thanks. Danica, did you want to respond to Mark? Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Those are all great ideas. I'll sort of speak to them individually. So the idea about having playlists featured in hockey arenas and various properties was always part of the original intent of the pilot project. It's not something that was able to be explored as well as we would have liked to in the pilot project, but absolutely thinking about places like Invista Center and other city-owned spaces for these playlists to be featured is absolutely part of the plan this year. It's great you're suggesting leveraging those pillars at the Invista Center, as actually those are currently wrapped with public art that our team has commissioned and installed. So I think it's a great idea to leverage that with messaging and information about the musicians and the program itself. The donation suggestion is really interesting. I think it's something we'd have to look into in terms of what might be possible through these playlists, but I will absolutely look into it and see how we might be able to explore something like that. And then the newsletter piece in terms of promotion. So we've also recently heard from musicians featured that they would like to have some branding to promote through their website or through their own communications and social media channels. So we've actually already drafted something with our designer that we can share with various community partners for promotion of the playlist. So a really good suggestion there.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. So Danica, we have to get the working group, I guess, together, right now. So who would like to be part of that YGK local music working group? Dean again, and Councillor Neal.
And I'm probably the non-brainer because I fit 2 of the necessary criteria, and the only one here today that does.
That's great. Great. Anyone else who'd like to be part of that?
Anne?
No, Anne? Oh, yes, Anne.
No, I'm putting up my hand to say I'd love to, but I'm maxed out with other obligations right now. But it was really, really fun, and to hear all the submissions. And so if you have some spare time, because it's time consuming, but if you're curious, it was so interesting and fun to hear what everyone was doing. And I can't, like, in terms of a volunteer position, it's pretty satisfying. It was really fun. I also wanted to, Danica, I don't know if you've reached out to Dylan Lodge. He might be interested in being on the group, and he is available a fair bit because his work has been reduced somewhat, but he's a sound technician. He's worked with North of Princess Studios and a bunch of Kingston bands. Really great guy, super precise. I've worked with him a lot. He's easy to work with, and he's got a great ear, and he's got time right now too. I can't recommend him enough.
Okay, great. I'd be happy to participate if this is in a couple of months. I'm really busy right now, but in a couple of months, if another member of that working group is needed, then I'd be happy to help out. Mark?
Just because I go in there frequently and know he's listening to music all day, and I feel like I pitch Brian for a lot of things, but I bet you Brian from Brian's Record Option, if he was given a playlist, he would have some fun with it and probably get through the listening in one day. Like, I know he gets in there in the morning and he's playing music till 8 p.m. when he goes home at night. So if you've seen his notes, I don't know how he would be at like conveying his choices, but that might be the challenging part for him. He does everything by hand still, but I know he's definitely, I think, fairly well respected in the downtown music scene. So he would be one that I would think of. Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like we have about 10 people, Danica. Is it feasible? What's happening? What would you like to do? How would you like to move this forward?
So, I mean, these suggestions are great. I think, if a committee would like for staff to explore these other options for community members, I'm happy to do that. And then we could come back together in April at our next meeting to confirm, as Nadine, you've said, the community members for this working group. That's okay, but we do need to sort of make sure we do meet that April timeline in order for the timelines to all line up with the review of the submission. So if, Mark's suggestion and Annie's suggestion is that we should reach out to these other two people, I'm happy to hold on the community member nominations and then come back to this committee with those that have confirmed and go from there. And so we could we could take that approach.
Okay, Councillor Neal?
Given the expansion of the apparent expansion of the program, would it make sense to be able to expand by a couple of community members, the committee, or are we kind of locked into the numbers prescribed?
To reference, identify 5 to 7 members that have been approved by council. So I'd recommend, we can be on the high end of that with 7 members and just keep it in this moment. But I think, happy to review that as this goes forward if there is a need for a larger makeup, a membership number for this working group.
Okay. So we have Dean and Councillor Neal, and I'm happy to be part of that as well. So that is 3 of us here. I didn't see any other interest. So I can make someone needs to make a motion, right? Liz, would you like to make a motion?
I move that Dean, Councillor Neal and Nadine be members of the YGK Music Group from this committee.
We work well together. So anyone want to second that motion? Kiersey? Great. All in favor? I guess we will. Perfect. Is that suitable, Danica? That's good. Thumbs up. Okay, great. I don't think there are any other motions. And is there any other business? Is there anything I'm missing here before we say goodbye? And it is 11:57. So, Colin, yes.
I just want to say kudos to Mark and his team from the Kingston Canadian Film Festival that wrapped up this weekend. Yes, exactly. I mean, congratulations to you and your organization for being able to shift into that new model of delivery. And I hope it proved to be successful for you. And I know I got to enjoy a number of the films as well. So I'm just so appreciative of arts groups like the Kingston Canadian Film Festival that are figuring out how to keep moving forward and deliver great content in this moment. So
I agreed. Navigating that barrier of COVID. Bravo. There's lots of really successful promotion that I kept seeing. So kudos to you. Okay, I guess that is it. I need a motion to adjourn from someone. Councillor Neal and a seconder. Great, Mark. And we will then all in favor adjourn. Fantastic. Nice to see everyone.
Nice to see you guys. Sorry I was late. I have a class that goes right till 11:30, but at least it lets me kind of come in at the end.
For sure. It was great to see you. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.